which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Call roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
Ms. Ronio? Ms. John?
Here.
Mr. Sharam? Dr. Schutz? Colonel Waters?
Thank you. I understand tonight that we have some special recognitions.
Yes, we do. If you'll join me,
Okay.
I will have you hand out the pen and I will introduce.
Okay.
Now this is truly a pleasure for me because ever since I've been here, I've run into people that have been here 20, 30, 40 years. And so this is really a special ceremony for me to honor the people that have put so much of their life in the Lawton Public Schools. We had several people that were going to be honored tonight. We have several that couldn't make it, but tonight we're going to start. First, we're going to start with a young lady who has earned 20 years of experience with Lawton Public Schools. We're going to ask Barbara Henry to come up here. Oh, there you are. Now, Barbara has been teaching for almost 30 years. She's a 6th grade science teacher at Tomlinson Middle School. She graduated from Northeastern Oklahoma State University in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And you were a teacher assistant for Muskogee, and I attended elementary school there. You could have helped me. You could have. And she does offer some advice to beginning year teachers. As we grow as professionals, our values will also grow and change. The teacher must always look for additional ways to improve and evolve as an instructor. Although this may not mean a complete reversal in the motivation or personal beliefs, self-reflection will result in greater insight into one's teaching career. And also, she would like to give the credit for her motivation and important role in life to God and to her mother, who stressed education as a top priority. Come on over here, Barbara.
There you go, Barbara. Thank you. Congratulations and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. All right, well, next we have Miss Kelly Eckert. Or Ackert. Did I pronounce that wrong the first time? Okay. Apologize. Now, Kelly has been with Lawton Public Schools for 25 years. Now, Kelly has taught pre-K, kindergarten, 1st and 4th grade, and you spent the first 24 years of your career at Wilson. So 24 years in the same building. The last 2 years you've been at Beginnings. Okay. And you are the primary leader of Lawton's high school people-to-people delegation. And let me list all the places that you've said you've been. Now, you have traveled to these places with your delegation? Yes. Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Great Britain, Ireland, Italy, Monaco, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Scotland, Switzerland, and Wales. And so that is pretty impressive. You've taken our students to all those places. Can I help? Can I be a sponsor? Kelly is also a reader of all kinds of literature. He loves to travel, swim, and snorkel. And so on behalf of Lawton Public Schools, congratulations for 25 years of service.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our next Lawton Public School employee that we're going to honor has 30 years of experience with Lawton Public Schools. And I'm going to ask Linda Butemeyer to join us.
You're not old enough.
Now, Linda is not only worked at the school for 30 years, she also graduated, attended all 12 years of school, graduated from Lawton School, absolutely. Started in 1983 at Geronimo Road Elementary School, spent 17 years there, and you got your counseling degree from Southwestern, which is also where I got my bachelor's, so little camaraderie there, and started as a counselor at Lawton High School, where you served 11 years as the scholarship counselor, class sponsor, and high stepper coach, and you're now the counselor at Crosby Park Elementary School. Well, Linda, well, thank you for your service to Lawton Public Schools. Our next, now we've had the next candidate is not as pretty as the previous three, but I'm going to ask Mr. Rod Elam to join us.
That was an understatement.
Now, Rod Elam has 30 years of experience with Lawton Public Schools.
Wow.
Now, Rod is a very talkative person, I've learned, in the short time I've spent with him. We spent a lot of time together recently. He started coaching at Eisenhower High School, junior high, and PE teacher in 1979. From here, he bounced off to, you took a stint as a insurance salesman? 1 year. Worked at Western Heights and Jones, and then you came back and you have been, you returned to, you taught English, and then you were athletic coordinator at MacArthur High School. You went to MacArthur Junior High School, and then you spent some time as an assistant principal at Eisenhower before you became the head principal in 2009. All right. Well, so you graduated from Lawton? Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. Our next person, 35 years of experience. Now, I saw Mr. Larry Stormer come up. Now, Larry didn't give me near the information everybody else did. Now, I'm just going to read his whole bio because it's just two sentences. This is, so I started at Taft Elementary as a PE teacher. Now, what year was that? You've also taught and coached at MacArthur Junior High and served as principal at Washington and Carriage Hills. And if you've seen him very often around, I've seen he has one grandchild, Grace, and she seems to be very fond of him. So I don't know how you. Well, Mr. Stormer, thank you for your service.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we're going to ask Miss Marlena Mason to join us. Oh. And just like Mr. Stormer, 35 years of experience with Lawton Public Schools.
Wow.
That's just incredible. She is a native Lawtonian, and they just recently celebrated your 40th wedding anniversary. And everything in your story is about your family.
Yes.
And so to put it in a nutshell, you love spending time with your family, your kids, and your grandchildren. And she's an active member of the Lawton First Assembly. She began in Lawton Public Schools in 1977, and you started at Shoemaker Center. Right? I can't believe you left all this glory. I can't believe you walked away from this. You worked in the special ed department, and then you worked in the transportation center, Lawton High, and Hoover Elementary. And currently, she is administrative assistant at the Special Services Center. Well, thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.
And that concludes our pen recipients.
Special recognition.
We have Junior League of Lawton donation to Attire to Aspire program. So if I could have the Junior League. And they have a big check. Now, at this time, you can bring all of them up this time, if you have any extras. And so, any extra checks, too.
We only have one really big one.
So this is one of those times where you all get to speak and I get to listen. So, now, for those of you who aren't familiar, our Attire to Aspire program, we have Kim here, has started this year, and that is to help out students in schools for the new, and it's not uniforms, but the modified dress code. I call it uniforms. But as students get to school, sometimes it's been a struggle for families to purchase the uniforms, to purchase the right outfits to fit in. And so the Attire to Aspire, Kim Jones started it this year, right? Your very first year. And she started that program, and the Junior League of Lawton here is here to present you with a check for $250.
You're welcome.
He's trying.
Oh, we got some extra outfits. Oh, yes.
Oh,
Thank you, ladies.
just take care of it.
Can I make a couple?
Yes. Now, when you bring this to the bank, you can't go through the drive-through. You
To go in.
got to go through the other. So,
Let me just share with you all when you build to better people, you build a better community. These are the Junior League recognize that, and they wanted to make sure that our students know that they're rallying behind them so they can succeed in every endeavor, especially their educational endeavor. So thank you, ladies. We really appreciate your gesture and your offering of love. Thank you so much.
when she's with the real
Yep, to learn more about the Junior League and what we're involved in here at Lawton, please visit our website, juniorleagueoflawton.org. We've got a lot of great things going on the website, so check us out, please.
And I want to mention that Kim has had great success with this. She was featured on the news recently, where also the Centenary Methodist Church made a significant donation to the Attire to Aspire. So our kids are well dressed now, taken care of. Thank you all very much. And for item C, I'm going to let them,
Filter out.
I'm going to let them filter out first. Now for item C, we're going to have Mr. Dale Fleury from the National Math and Science Initiative come up and do a presentation. It's all yours, Dale.
Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Dr. Deegan, members of the board, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. I'm Dale Fleury. I'm the Senior Program Director for the National Math and Science Initiative. A little over 2.5 years ago, I stood before this board and announced the first year of a grant through the National Math and Science Initiative, and connected with our Initiative for Military Families, and introduced Eisenhower High School as the first high school in Lawton Public Schools to be a part of that program. I stand before you a little over 2.5 years later to share with you the results of all 3 of the high schools. During this 2-year period of time, thanks to the success of Eisenhower High School and thanks to the success of some other schools in Oklahoma, we were able to expand this program throughout the state. And last year, Lawton High School and MacArthur High School joined the NIMSY family of schools. We had a great celebration several weeks ago at the end of August up at the Capitol. I think you're all aware that Eisenhower High School was the NIMSY School of the Year for this program last year, or for 2012 and 13. And I'd like to share with you, if I could, very briefly, the results of all 3 schools. It truly has been phenomenal. We did not know to the extent that this district, this community, and the support that they have provided to the students of Lawton Public Schools, the success that we would have. So with that being said, let me kind of quickly go through these data results with you, and then I'll stop and entertain any questions. I think the board has a copy of the presentation, and I also believe they have a copy of the raw data, the actual numbers. So I kind of took those numbers and put them into a visual format. Okay. Oh, here we go. First of all, this program is truly a public-private partnership. Many of you are aware that the National Math and Science Initiative began back in 2007 with a very generous donation from ExxonMobil in the amount of $125 million. With that, we were able to expand throughout the country into 9 states. We are now currently in over 600 schools in 22 states in the Union, and we also have a subsidiary program that is connected to military families, and that is how we began our journey with Lawton Public Schools some 2 years ago, with our connection with the Military Family Program and Fort Sill. We are also involved in the Military Family Program with Tinker Air Force Base in Mid-Dell Schools. And so the results that you're about to see are the results of the Lawton Public School in the program. So I wanted to give you kind of the big picture, and of course we crunch data at NIMSY, so I hope I don't overwhelm you with this, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. Over here on the left, you'll see that this is all students taking a math, science, and English advanced placement exam. This is back in 2010, and this is the year before NIMSY came to Lawton. This was last year in all 3 schools. That's a 111% increase in students taking an advanced placement math, science, and English exam in the district. We also, of course, are a math and science initiative, and so we like to focus on math and science as well. And during that same period of time, the schools went from 125 before NIMSY began to 406 last year, which is a 225% increase, just in students taking an AP Math, Science, and English exam. So what about the results? What about the qualifying scores? You can see that there was a 93% increase over the past 3 years. And when it comes to math and science, there was a 224% increase in qualifying scores. Now, the program is a 3-year program, so we have some staggered starts. Eisenhower is in their 3rd year of the program, and MacArthur and Lawton are in their 1st year of the program. So what we do to kind of put the data together is we take a look at the average 1st year increase. So in other words, the 1st year that the program began at Eisenhower was back in 2011 and 2012. And so the other schools began in 2012-13. So what was the average 1st year increase for exams taken? It was 113%. Oops, I'm sorry. 113% increase, 323 to 688. And in math and science, there was a 119% increase, 107 to 334. In terms of excuse me, let me back up. Yes. Qualifying scores, we did that. Yes, okay. That was a 119% increase. I apologize for that. Now we also want to take a look at underrepresented students, and the average 1-year increase for AP Math, Science, and English exams for African American and Hispanic students was 190%, and then for Math and Science it was a 327% increase. In terms of qualifying scores, 63% Math, Science, and English, and 134% Math and Science for African American, for all students in qualifying scores. Let me back up because these are exams taken, 190% for African American and Hispanic students, 327% in Math and Science taking the exam. Now we're getting to qualifying scores. I apologize. 63% increase for all students, average 1st year increase, 134% for all students in Math and Science. For African American and Hispanic students, it's considerably higher, 192% increase, and a 275% increase in qualifying scores for African American and Hispanic students. Now, how does this compare? In other words, how do we compare the Lawton Public Schools to Oklahoma and to the United States in terms of average 1-year increases? So we looked at what happened across the United States this past year, what happened in Oklahoma, and what happened in Lawton Public Schools. So you're looking at 7 to 8 times the national and state average in students receiving qualifying scores in AP Math, Science, and English thanks to this program. And that's pretty powerful data. Now, what about African American Hispanics? The U.S. average is, 1-year average is 14%. Oklahoma was 18%, and Lawton Public Schools had a 53% increase in qualifying scores for African Americans and Hispanic students from 2012 to 2013. Now, another thing we can look at in terms of the so what factor, where does that put our Lawton Public Schools in terms of the rest of the state? Because of privacy law in FERPA, I'm not allowed to share with you where all the schools rank and what those names are. I am allowed to share with you where you rank in the state. In other words, don't ask me, for example, Eisenhower is 10th in the state of Oklahoma in terms of students taking a Math, Science, and English exam. Do I know who the other 9 are above them? Yes, but I cannot tell you that. Okay? But I thought you'd be interested to know that last year there were 281 schools in Oklahoma reporting a student taking a Math, Science, and English exam. This is where your 3 schools rank in regard to that. Over here we're looking at the qualifying scores. And by the way, when I say up, That means the previous year, they were a lot lower than that. As a matter of fact, a number of these schools jumped over 10 or 15 schools in this program, which is a very, very difficult thing to do in terms of data and the number of students taking exams. So that's how much that they've put into this program. Down below, this is math and science. So I think that is very, very impressive. So the bottom line of all this, in terms of this data, and why we're so happy, is this. It's a return on investment. We often at NIMSY say that the reason why we're so involved in this program is not because of educational reform, and it is an educational program, and it's great for students, but there's a bigger issue. It's a workforce development issue. If we don't provide our students with the skills and the tools that they need to be successful in the global economy of the 21st century, then we're not doing our part. This community, this school board, superintendent has said, we understand that, and we are going to invest in our kids at the lower levels so that they are career and college level ready. So the gigantic so what on this is, what is the return on investment? And for students, obviously, more students that take advanced placement, the data is clear, the research is clear on the opportunities that are opened up for them. We do longitudinal tracking studies in all of our program schools, and we work closely with state departments of education to find out what's happening to the Eisenhower students who graduated last year in this program and have matriculated to universities or other post-secondary endeavors. And so we're able to, with confidence, say that these students have higher GPAs, the remediation rate drops significantly, they're graduating on time, that makes mom and dad very happy, and also the tuition dollars that are saved because of the credits that they earn while taking these advanced placement courses. And we believe that they do have the skills to get through college. It's not only a responsibility of public education, K through 12, to get the kids into the post-secondary endeavors, but it's also our responsibility to make sure that they're equipped with the skills to get through. This program has done that. The Lawton community has recognized that, and so we are very, very grateful for their support of this program. And obviously, what does it mean for teachers? You have some of the best teachers in the United States. As a matter of fact, you have one who was recognized by NIMSY as the Teacher of the Year last year because of her fine efforts at Eisenhower High School working with students. And again, when you have a highly trained, highly skilled, ongoing professional development that this program brings to the teachers to Lawton, the kids are going to benefit. So, lots of positives. We're very happy to be here. We're in the second year with Lawton and MacArthur. We're in the final year of the grant with Eisenhower, and we're sitting down and beginning to look at some sustainability models and plans to continue this program, because now kids are excited about coming to these schools and taking these rigorous courses. It truly has been transformational, and I know you people have probably heard more about it in the community than I have, but once again, thank you for your support, and I'll answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
I don't have any. I just want to say thank you. Thank you from all of us and what you've done to turn around our AP scores at our schools.
Well, we couldn't have done it without your support and the community support too. A big thanks to the DODEA, Department of Defense Educational Activity, and Boeing, and also Northrop Grumman, who have stepped up and helped support this program. It's been wonderful. Appreciate all your support too, Dr. Dean. Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Fleury, when you came to us a few weeks ago and shared this information, in just a couple of weeks, the State Department will be here to celebrate this.
Right.
As a matter of fact, in
Absolutely.
October.
Yes, that's right.
We've got Rod Elam here, principal of Eisenhower. We recently talked with Nate Slate. This truly is, it's sending ripples across the nation. And Lawton, as you've told me, has been seen as the epicenter of this.
Absolutely.
And so I thank you for what you've done, and I just couldn't pass this up. Now, Mr. Fleury has driven a long way. It's been a long, so I appreciate you coming and sharing this information. I thought it was so important for our board and community here. I thank you very much, and I can look forward to continue this as much as we can.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your
sir.
time. Appreciate it.
And you are welcome to step out if you need to, Mr. Fleury.
Okay, item number 5, an architect's report.
We do have an architect's report. I will ask Jason and Clarence, or just Jason, to come up.
Thank you to the board and to Dr. Deegan for having me here again. It's been about 6 weeks since we've spoken, and as I'll continue to do for the duration of our construction project at Freedom Elementary, I'd like to just give a few minutes, a report on what's been transpiring over at Fort Sill on our construction project. It's been about 120 days since the project started at the very end of May. There's been a lot of activity going on with not a lot of visible sign, and we're finally coming out of the ground. So the foundations are continuing to progress through what is our phase 1 scope, but now that the steel columns and frames are coming out of the ground, you can start to see how the school is going to take shape. There will continue to be much activity over the next few weeks. In fact, on Monday, our big concrete panels will show up, and you'll start to see on this photo, actually, oh, there we have it. This is our corridor. You can see there are maybe 15 or 20 steel frames which have been erected that define our main corridor down the middle of the school. On Monday and Tuesday and probably the rest of the week, we're going to be bringing in all of our concrete walls, and they'll be stacked up right next to those frames. So keep watching on the website. The pictures refresh every 15 minutes, and there's 3 or 4 different cameras you can look at. So there's a lot of activity that you can see. One thing I would point out is there's a button on the website, and anybody can push it, and it gives you a time-lapse video of what's happened since the beginning of the job. So anytime you want to, you can see from any particular point of view what's happened kind of in a movie fashion. So the goal, the big picture here, the school is scheduled to be all under roof by the end of the year. So the contractor is planning on, by the end of December, having all of the roofs on of our gymnasium, our 2-story building, and our big office and library building. That's going to give them 4 months plus what they can do before that to finish out the inside of the school. The project will continue another year past the end of this school year, but the school is scheduled to open up coming in the fall of 14. Okay, so in April of 2014, we should start to see the completion of our first phase. So again, like I said, from the beginning of 2014 till April or so, we'll be working out the interior of that building. We'll be seeing that done, and Harper is doing a tremendous job. So again, I'm sure many of you know folks in the community that work with Harper. We have a lot of people at Harper whose their family members are teachers in the community, and so they're very proud of what they're doing, and we're very excited to be part of this project as well. Any questions?
The work, so great job.
Have there been any glitches or any problems that you had to deal with that are unusual?
No, there hasn't been anything unusual. There's always situations that will come up, and so we would expect to have some of those things happen, but we'll continue to navigate that through with you guys over the next couple of years. So.
Great.
Thanks, Dr. Deegan.
Thank you, Jason.
Y'all are welcome to step out if you need to.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you all. Item number 6, departmental report.
We don't have any departmental reports this evening.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, under the report of the superintendent, we have 2 items. The first one, this is item A, consideration and action concerning approval of 2013-2014 summary of district budgets and fiscal information and the estimate of needs under separate cover. And for this portion, I will ask Diane Brinstetter to come to the podium, give us a brief summary, and ask and see if there's any questions from the board.
Evening.
Hello.
Okay. First of all, we're going to, like I said, I set a few extra copies over there if anybody, I forgot to set them out on the table if anybody would like one. They're sitting right there in the chair. Okay. We're going to kind of do this in 3 little steps. We're going to kind of go through the revenue first, and then we'll move to the budget, and then we'll kind of close with a recap of all of them in general. Okay? So we're going to start, actually, with the revenue in section C on page C1. And you actually got 2 page C1s somehow. So we'll start a little bit with the revenue, as we've talked in the past on the different sources of revenue. The ad valorem money at the beginning under the district sources of revenue, just wanted to give you a little bit of explanation of how we came up with some of the estimates. On the ad valorem money, we usually use a formula. It's about 95% of the evaluation. You can tell that it's a little bit less than what we actually collected. We did that for a couple of reasons. Again, like I said, we use a formula with that, and it's kind of served us well in the last 15, 20 years to use that 95% estimate at the beginning of the year. We make the adjustments as more revenue comes in January and February and through the course of the year. So we kind of started low, trying to be a little bit more conservative on that revenue. Now, on the intermediate sources of revenue, the county 4 mil, the gross production, the motor vehicle, those types of revenues, you'll notice it on the original projections, they are slightly smaller than what we got in last year. As I mentioned in the overview, if you had an opportunity to read the overview of the budget, it stated that we were going to move to what's called the regulatory procedures of accounting instead of the GAAP accounting that we have been in the last 12 years. We did that about 12 years ago when a law was passed that stated that we needed to do our revenue, collecting it in the month that it belonged instead of in the month that we actually collected it. After visiting with our auditor in the last few years, they have recommended that we move back to the regulatory. So that what that's going to mean is that we're going to have less revenue in the month of June for one day, basically, because I won't be able to receipt it in June. I will have to receipt the money in July. So it's not that we're losing anything. It's just a matter on paper. For one day, we will have less revenue than it will appear on the paper. Instead of the next morning on July 1st, the money will be back in the actual. It just won't appear in the carryover that year, but it will be there the following morning. Okay? So that's why the revenue projections, and actually it's going to be about $600,000 to $700,000 less. You can tell that on the major one, which is the motor vehicle collections, which for 1 month is about $600,000. So it's going to appear as though we are going to have less money to work with this year. Okay, you'll also notice down in the 4,000, back up, on the 3210 area, which is the foundation and incentive aid, which is our state aid, and we've mentioned this in the past, but I thought it was important to bring it up again, that last year when we began the original projection, we were at $49 million, but we got an increase in our mid-year adjustment, and so we ended up collecting $53 million. But our actual initial allocation for this year is only at $52,431,000, which is actually a $629,000 cut in revenue this year. Okay, just want to make sure everybody understood that. Okay, now you move down to some of our federal sources of revenue, and as our prior superintendent mentioned many times to us, that we needed to be cautious about our impact aid revenue. Okay, so we did lower those by about $1.9 million. You can tell by what we actually collected last year was at $7.2 million, and what we're anticipating is only at $5.3 million. As he mentioned many times, that we collected additional impact aid revenue from many prior years back that we won't collect again because they pretty much got caught up on that. So we had to reduce the revenue in that regard. Okay? Then on page C2, you can see that, again, our cash carryover, which is the 6100 area of the OCAS, our carryover was at $5 million, and as I mentioned before at one other board meeting, not all of that belonged to the general fund because a portion of that belonged to federal funds too. But I do want you to take note that $274,000, our revenue has gone down also because that was the money that we transferred from the sick leave fund that we will not have that opportunity to transfer that money into the budget again, okay? So significantly, you can tell that our revenue has gone down, and you'll see that when we move over into the budget area. Okay. Our co-op, of course, only houses a few grants. They come in and they go out and they zero themselves out at the end of the year. Our building levies, typically, the majority of it is our ad valorem money. We, again, use that 95% ratio, so at the beginning of the year, it looks a little low until, again, the collections come in January. One very important, significant part about the building levy, though, is the carryover that was in the building levy versus what it was a year ago. A year ago, we carried over $137,000, and last year we carried over $867,000, so the building levy did quite well. If you'll recall, we maneuvered some of the utilities into the building levy, but when the final bills came in May and June, they were much less than we anticipated, which helped our carryover in the building levy this year. So that was a good thing for the building levy. All right. The municipal tax levy, of course, is the city sales tax coming in. Our lease revenue, we won't get any more money in until it surpasses the $20 million mark that we had anticipated to originally come in, so we won't increase in revenue there. The city sales tax on the top line is for the buses. We will increase or take our monthly collections of about $96,000 a month in that area. Okay? The bond area, of course, we won't bring any more revenue in. It is the carryover. There won't be any more unless we actually pass a bond. Hopefully, we'll pass some more bonds. That would be very exciting. Okay, the sinking fund, again, is the ad valorem money on each of the bonds that we still have out. We will stop collecting bonds on December of 2014, so that's one thing we need to keep in mind in regard to when we want to start thinking about going out for another bond election. The one thing I wanted to mention on that is the Comanche County judgment that we have. It will be paid off in January. This January it will be paid off and will come off the tax rolls. Okay? The endowment fund, it houses principal that we get from various donors, and then we give scholarships once a year to those that are going to college based on their criteria that they have. Okay, the activity fund, because we didn't do the budget presentation in the same manner last year, I didn't have anything actually to put in that original column, so I only put the carryover in there. You can see what they actually collected was about $4.9 million, including the carryover, so then I anticipated about what they're going to collect again. You know, we shifted a lot of the expenses because they didn't have building allocations, we shifted a lot of the expenses to their activity funds, but I would say that the activity funds, they still held their own and they did quite well as far as the community making the donations and that sort of things to the school district, so they did good. Okay, and the gifts account are again scholarships, but if you'll notice there's nothing in the original columns because these are not endowments to where we keep their money. They only come in once a year and then go right back out. Okay. All right. Then we have our workers' comp fund, where it is a old claim that we've had for many, many years. So the only thing coming in is the $20,000 that the district has to continue to pay for that one claim that's out there. Okay. And then our sick leave. On it, what I wanted to note is that where we transferred the $274,000 out of the account. The beginning of last year, we had 386. When we closed, we only had 121, and then we made out payments also, which you'll see that on the end on the budget side. So when we were starting this year, we only have $57,000 in that account. Okay. All right. So, any questions on the revenue? Okay. So we'll move to the budgets, which is in section D1, and from D1 to D3. Okay, our budget this year is going to be at $118 million. You can tell at the general fund salaries line, if you'll recall, we gave a raise, so it has gone up a little bit there, which is understandable. We anticipated that. Our district operations, you can tell that they have gone up a little bit. Our Insurance premium went up dramatically. We did shift some of the utilities that we had last year from the building levy back into the general fund, with one exception of $600,000 of the electric bill we did leave over into in the building levy. On the second line there where it says the building allocations, you'll notice that last year we only gave them $100,000 to basically share. This year we did fund them, and if you'll flip back to page E4, you can tell how the allocations were broken down. We're going to give the building allocations in two sections. One's called the initial allocation, and it's going to be 65% of whatever the enrollment is, $25 per student, so we gave them that amount of allocation to start the school year. The supplemental part of the allocation will be given to them around mid-year, and it will be the remaining 35%, and it will be based on the number of free and reduced applications that the schools are having when they get them filled out, and help us to, our goal is to try to see how many of them that we can get in, because it also increases our state aid. So we're trying to get them involved in helping us keep up our revenue and that sort of thing. So they will get that about mid-year, that second section of that that allocation. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I know that that's something we probably need to really get out there, is that even if your child will not qualify for free and reduced lunch, to please fill out the application, because we will still get aid for them.
Absolutely.
So,
good point.
And we're trying to get 100% at our schools, is that correct?
Right.
To try to get them to fill out that free and reduced lunch. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. As you can see down the column, that most of the allocations have stayed pretty much the same. We didn't do very many changes along the way. You'll notice that McMahon, toward the bottom of the page, project number 147 under McMahon, it does have the budget, has the $250,000 that they have already given us for the 2 additional buses that they're going to buy. Okay. On page D2, you'll take note that in the state section of the budget, a number of them have not been renewed for this year. A lot of times they come in after the time the budget is set, so then we'll pick up some of the other state allocations, but we couldn't actually put them into the budget at this point. However, we did get some staff development money this year, so that was an additional revenue that we had not had in the past. Also, the vocational area, we had 2 schools actually apply for $25,000 grants for their STEM, one in the middle school, and then the Tech Now grant. So we've got some additional funding there, okay? But you'll notice on the federal fund side, though, most all of your title grants took almost a 10% cut, with the exception of the special ed grant. It pretty much stayed the same. I did go to a special ed meeting on Tuesday, and they did indicate that the reason that it was pretty much level this year was they made some adjustments at the state level, but that we should anticipate taking that same 10% cut next year on that line item. So we need to keep that in mind. Okay? All right. And on page D3, you will see that in the federal area, again, the one large new grant that we have, which is the DoD science grant of $1.5 million, and that will be for 3 years. So that's one very positive note to the school district. Okay, so the general fund's budget is going to be set at $118 million. On the recap page, on B2, it gives a little bit of breakdown on actually how the revenue comes in, the percentages of how our funds are collected. 72% of them come from local, 9% from state, a little bit from vocational, 17% from federal, which makes up the $118 million. You can see what the expenditures are anticipated this year. 66% of them on the salaries, 20% on the benefits, and 14% on the non-salary. But for the first time in many years, you do see that there is a contingency reserve at the bottom of the page, which I think is just totally awesome.
Good job.
Okay. All right.
We need some reserves.
Yes, we do. Okay. Let's go back to page D5, which is the building levy. And again, want everybody to make sure they keep mind that the building levy actually looks much larger than it is going to, again, because I separate, and I tried to keep it separate as we move forward, to keep Freedom Elementary separated from the building allocation so everybody will understand why it looks so large, okay? But you can see that we also built in the maintenance reserve of $495,000, which is actually for next school year. So we're trying to keep that ahead of the game also. And the district operations, the $894,000, $233,000 of it is to pay the lease. That lease will not pay off until July 15th of 2012, and that is the energy lease that we took out at MacArthur High School, okay? It won't pay off until July 15th of 2012. We do have a buyout option at, 2021 is when that, you're right. That's when it pays off. We have a buyout in July 15th of 2015. There is an option to buy out. But between now and 2021, we still have to pay that $233,000 bill out of the levy every year. So that's a little bit of a hit to the levy. So, okay. All right. The municipal tax fund, the budget for it is set at $8 million. It's anticipated to finish out the projects at Almore West, Adams, Edison, and of course Freedom Elementary. Okay. The bond fund, the $4 million there has been earmarked to complete 5 elementary schools, heating and air conditioning units, MacArthur Middle School, Eisenhower Middle School, and a portion of the roof at Lawton High. So that money has also been all earmarked. Okay, again, the sinking fund, our final bond payment is due on August the 1st of 2015. We will stop collecting in December of 2014. That's when we'll stop collecting, but our final payment on the last bond is due August of 2015. Okay, and you can see the other funds, the minor funds. We won't go into all of those. So let's move back to our recap on page B1. And you can see that the district as a whole, our budget will be, including all 11 funds, will be at $189 million this year. So we are $180 million strong. I think we've done an awesome job, and again, I think the carryover has really helped the district. I will mention a couple of things, that some of the expenditures, as to, you would think that looking at it that our carryover should be much larger, but there were a number of expenses that we incurred right at the beginning of the year. Wanted to make sure that we kept those in mind. We started with the security systems in all the elementary schools. We're paying for that. The bleachers at Eisenhower High School. Of course, the $600,000 shift in regulatory to GAP, that's going to cost us a little, the $600,000. The vent hoods in all the schools, and all the purchase orders of any project that was in place on June 30th that then rolled over and became an expense on July 1st. Just wanted to keep in mind that some of those shifts in those things is what makes the carryover look larger than it is on June 30th than it really is once we start paying off the remaining things that we already obligated. Okay? Any other questions?
You will be in town, won't you, June 30th?
Yes.
Okay.
Always. For the last 34 years I have been. Any questions?
No, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, we have to have approval.
Okay, I make a motion to approve.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Mr. Sharam?
Yes.
Mr. Jester? Sorry.
Yes. Thank you.
For item B, Superintendent's Report, we have consideration and action concerning approval of the proposed changes to policy FE, open transfer policy, transfers and assignments. This policy, simply, we're updating it to reflect state law. They changed the new transfer laws, the dates, and this policy simply reflects that. Changes from simply, for example, February 1st to June 1st. The final report is not due till later in the year. It really opens up opportunities for open transfers between school districts.
So they actually have now until September 1 to transfer, is that correct?
I think we have till September 1, and Barbara Ellis may have to help me with this, we have September 1 to get our report in.
Okay.
They have till June 1 to do the transfer, whereas before, our policy said February.
February 1st, okay.
Does that sound correct?
It's until the third Monday of June to get all the transfer applications.
Okay.
30 days after that, they have been acted on by the board. 10 days after that, to notify the individual, and then September 1st to send the report.
And these are transfers within our district or to other districts also?
Other districts also.
Okay.
And when they changed this law, they initially came out with a sheet that had a list, a whole page and a half of contradictions. So fortunately, the OSSBA came through and gave us a cheat sheet to try to muddle through that. So we're confident this will address it correctly. And God bless Barbara Ellis figuring these things out.
This will not affect our emergency transfer system, though, policy, correct? Okay, thank you. Move for approval.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sharam?
Yes.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda?
I do not.
None for me. Yeah.
On page 104, there's an item on a request approval for certain agreements and contracts. Last item on there, Wilson State College, a clinical placement of a speech pathology student. We have not gotten, I required a revision to give us an indemnity and hold harmless clause that the legal department has not approved yet, so we need to pull that for the time being.
Okay.
And then also, over on page 164, there's a series of easements for the bus, proposed bus ramps that are going to run through our property. And there is a slide to show you what that is if you want to take a quick look at it.
Absolutely.
Happy to.
Go ahead. Actually, it starts over on Cherry Street where it comes in and to our property. It crosses it crosses Fortune Bowl right here and follows the sidewalk up to, and then right here, this area right here is some sidewalk that does not meet ADA requirements, so the city's going to tear that out and redo it. That is temporary easement to allow them to do that. The rest of the easement goes over behind Shoemaker and over here. This is another permanent easement to improve that intersection. And this one way up here in the corner of the field is a temporary construction easement at a later date. This is a different bus trail, bike trail that they'll put in that have funding, but they're definitely going to be one across here. But there are 4 permanent easements and 2 temporary easements in your package that need to be approved. And the donation for this is grant the city the right to undertake these improvements.
Great. Thank you. So no, we're not pulling the ones that
No, I just explained it.
explain them, but we are pulling.
With that one,
Wilson State College off of 104.
yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Y'all
so
can make that motion?
I'll make that motion of removing that State College off of page 104 and then approve the rest.
I second that, please.
Call roll, please.
Mr. Sharam?
Yes.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Thank you. I believe we can forego the proposed executive session this evening. Is that correct?
Be up to you.
Yes, I'd like to forego that till our next board meeting.
Okay.
And since that's a mid-year evaluation, we'll need the forms for that. I'll talk to Barbara Ellis about that.
Okay, I think this one is the goal-setting portion of my
Okay.
comment, and I think that is later on. And I'll
That's
check with
just-
Barbara as well.
This
Get
is
that
just
with
the
us.
language that you had in there.
Okay.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
On item 13, you have the superintendent's personnel report. On item A, we have proposal to vote, or recommend we vote to approve the employing, promoting, disciplining, or receiving resignations of individual certified and support salaried personnel listed on pages 201 to 203.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Ms. John?
Yes?
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
For item B of the superintendent's personnel report, we have consideration and action, if any, regarding the mid-year evaluation of Superintendent Tom Deegan. Because we don't have a full board here, we forewent that. Is forewent even a word? Forewent that.
It is in some areas of the country.
It is now. I think it's a legal term. Chuck can look it up.
Okay.
We'll make it one anyway.
There you go.
Do we have any new business to consider this evening? Okay, next regular board meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 14th here. Do we need to set any additional dates? Board announcements.
I have two. One, I would like to thank the United Way for the Day of Caring. This year was the first year that the Lawton Fort Sill Chamber Education Committee collaborated with Lawton Public Schools and the United Way, and we had 21 sites that received work done on the Day of Caring, and that was a really great thing. We're excited about that. Also, I had the opportunity to go to the Teacher of the Year to see Dana Moore, our Teacher of the Year finalist, and although she didn't win, she is my Teacher of the Year. I'm so proud of her, so I'm very proud of her, and I just wanted to say those two things. So.
Great. Thank you. Do you have any?
I have none.
Okay. I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.